2 weeks ago, you couldn't use this microphone.
Well, we fixed it just for you.
I'm impressed.
Bob Pollock is here this morning. We were talking about something last week, and I was trying to remember what it was that we wanted to remember for this week, and I can't remember it. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm, best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Working on getting the garden ready this week.
Yeah, good idea.
And so lifted up the plastic. I kept my plastic on all winter. I thought that would be really good for the soil, and it was nice and moist underneath there. But when I picked it up, there were some areas around the edges where some weeds had come in. And they're that really incipient weed that just multiplied like crazy last year. It grows straight up. When you touch it, it actually sends little seedlings, hundreds of them, flying up. I'd never seen something happen like that before, but they actually, I bent down to pick up a piece of plastic. And as I did, it showered my face with these little seeds.
Seeds.
What is that?
That's one of those winter annuals.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the brassica family, which is similar to, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage group.
It assaulted me.
Yeah. Yeah, they know how to disperse their seeds to try to keep the next generation going.
Yeah, I mean, it sprayed my face with that.
Those are all, couple of weeks ago, they were all nice and green, and they had those flower stems, going up, and they didn't, they're just a dainty kind of a plant. They're not a huge plant, but usually get multiples of them, so they kind of grow together. But now they're all maturing. They're starting to actually, the plant's starting to die, turn color, off green, but those seed pods are mature, and you just touch them and they shoot those seeds out.
That's amazing, really. It's a great technology.
It is. It's almost like a fireworks show, except there's not much show to it.
Today, like many folks, I'll be mowing off those big, tall dandelion stems. The yard looked so nice last week, and it didn't look like it looked like the dandelions were saying, okay, we're done for this season. But then, like the next day, there were all these stems there. Yeah. Man, oh man, they just look awful. So we'll be mowing those off today. Today's the day to mow, though, with rain coming, huh?
Right. Yeah, if you can get it done. I know this week I wanted to mow 2 days sooner than I was able to, and the grass really grew in those 2 days.
I want to talk about my famous yews at my house. I looked yesterday, and they were just, it didn't look like they were really interested in growing all that quickly this year, and all of a sudden they came alive. So within a week or so, it's going to be time for the first trimming on them. And that's a big shrub, and you have to really work hard to get those things trimmed up, and I happen to have 23 of them. And they're huge. You can't reach across one. So there's a lot of work involved there. What I wanted to talk about, though, was when they are young and tender, the first cutting of the year, they have a different character than they do on the second cutting of the year. And so I don't know with hedge trimmers how often they need to be sharpened or not, but it turns out that lately I've been sharpening them before every trimming, and it seems like that I can't keep up with them. So trimming those, if I let those shoots stick up more, and they're going to turn into old growth eventually, right?
Yes.
And make me a bigger shrub that I don't want.
Right, they will expand and grow and expand the size and the width as well as the height of that shrub.
Well, as I trim it, there are patches, maybe the size of a saucer, patches that just went brown over the course of the winter. Perfectly fine heading into the winter. Now they haven't greened up at all. So they're brown, dead yew leaves in there, or needles in there. What should I do with those? Should I cut those out, surgically remove those brown patches and hope something grows back in, or just let them there?
I would try to remove them, prune them back to the next where they attach to the next larger branch down in there. It's good in use to have a little bit of openings here and there because it lets a little more light in to the plant. When we just shear them, especially when they've gotten to their mature size, or which can be the natural growth of the plant, or it can be where we've said that
Here's
the boundary. Yeah, here's the boundary lines. And then you start to try to keep it there. Then it can get very dense at that outer layer, and at the expense of having a little more depth to the growth, because it just gets too dark. You've got this sheared surface, and it's tight, and there's all that growth there. You can't see into the plant at all. So you tend to only then have needles or growth out on maybe an inch or two. If we kind of carve some openings in there, and unfortunately we kind of have to do that by hand a little bit, take our hand shears and clip that so that there's a little bit of depth to that. Not all the growth is cut at the same. We don't have a crew cut appearance. We have some different lengths, and that can help us, maintain if something happens to the outside a little bit or some branches, we still have some growth back in there to work with. But anyway, anything that's dead, we need to prune that out.
Yeah,
is the best thing to do. So, if it's smaller stuff, over time that will kind of shed itself off, eventually.
Well, my yews are one thing, but I just recalled, because I also have juniper, what we were going to talk about was over on
on the bank,
the bank over there,
Hill.
the Vinegar Hill embankment, where Indiana Borough is considering how they want to handle that hillside there, and they have a plan that is tentative. Nothing's permanent. They haven't decided exactly what they want to do yet. But having looked at the preliminary plan, there are all kinds of different types of ground cover plants in there, and a lot of it is juniper. And recognizing that there are different species, styles of juniper, are they all treated the same when you in terms of managing them? Juniper is going to grow pretty close to the ground.
If it's a horizontal growing juniper.
Yeah.
We have a lot of upright junipers.
Yeah.
Also.
I think they're going to be all horizontal over there.
So the more ground cover types, typically we have to do very little with those over time because we're trying to get those to spread and cover an area. And by doing so, then we, kind of have a carpet there. We have a ground cover that hopefully will be competitive enough to keep other plants from growing, especially weeds and other things that might come in there. And then it's also an area that we don't have to manage as often, do some activities. When we get into other types of junipers, and even some of the upright junipers, they might only grow 2 or 3 feet wide, and they might get 6 or 8 feet tall. And there are a lot of different cultivars and types of those, so you really have to look when you purchase those plants, because when you're purchasing the plant, here it is at this given size, most likely in a container. Sometimes they're balled in burlap, other times they were grown in containers, but you got to look at the tag, and hopefully the tag's right. To the right cultivar, but you look at the size, here, a lot of times they won't give you a mature height or width. They'll give you, this plant will grow it might grow 3 to 4 feet wide and 6 to 8 feet tall in 10 years. So it doesn't give you the final size that plant will get, but it gives you an indicator of, okay, in 10 years, this plant's going to look like this. And then another 10 years, it might be, twice
the size of that.
Yeah. Knowing that not always, if we have the best conditions and everything goes right, this is what will happen. If we have less than the best growing conditions, or we have our soils or the orientation, northeast, southwest. Is it hiding behind? Will it get shade part of the day because of its location around, the house and all those things? But you got to kind of look at that and judge whether that's the right plant for the right place. Because oftentimes, oh yeah, that looks nice. It's the right color. It's the right texture.
For the moment.
It's the right, yeah. It has the right appearance. It's an upright versus horizontal. The plant that we're looking for. But we've really got to look at, is it the right plant for the right place for the length of time we want it to be there? Because they're small, they look good now, but we have to plan ahead.
Yeah.
Especially if we want to keep it there. If we're trying to establish a landscape or we're trying to replace some plants to maintain a landscape, it's really important to look at that and say, okay. Or when you are looking for plants to pick out 5, and you can do that fairly easily online, looking at, okay, this is what characteristics I'm looking for, and kind of find 5 different plants that will fit that bill, because you might not be able, all of those might not be available, or some might be available locally in the size that you want and others not. So you just have to kind of need to research that a little bit.
Yeah.
Get in the right ballpark.
Well, juniper is just, it's interesting to me because I've had some of those junipers around my house as long as I've been there, and they were there for probably 20 or 30 years before then, because same as the yews, they've all been there all this time.
Yep.
And they're sort of trained as to how we want them to grow, and as long as you keep them trimmed to that, then that's good to go. But they do prevent the weeds from coming up.
Yeah, they will do that well.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
So it all, the appearance that you're trying to, what you're trying to do, factors in pretty importantly the design, the look, the colors, all that. Are we looking for plants also that will hold soil in place, that are going to have a good root system, that will help hold a bank, there also.
Well, it's good if it holds the bank, but not good if it's a bank holdup.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. So are you. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's a Friday morning. We're a minute and a half away from 8 o'clock. Josh Widdowson in the newsroom. He's coming up right after Fox News.